call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. for regular council meeting for February 18th, 2025. His Worship Lance Jacobson and Councillor Boychuk are absent with permission this evening. Confirmation of the minutes. Resolved that the minutes from February 5, 2025 regular meeting of council be approved. Moved by Councillor Bobick, second by Councillor Whyte. Any errors, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Mr. Harvey, can you remove that block that's on the screen?
Sorry.
So, reception delegations, 3.1, Swan Valley Crisis Center. So we have the Swan Valley Crisis Center here this evening to make a presentation, I believe, on a proposed project that you're looking forward to bring forward. And
yes.
Here to give council a little bit of a description and what that's all about. And oh, I need to back up agenda, right?
Yeah.
I just seen that getting ahead of myself. So 2.1, resolve that the agenda for February 18th, 2025 regular council meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Bobick. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so now back to Swan Valley Crisis Center.
Thanks.
So tell us about your project and if there's any ask to council. And
I'm Crystal Deshane, for those of you who don't know me. I think everyone knows me. Executive Director at the Crisis Center. You guys received my little package, I guess?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So we are looking for any financial support if possible. We have in the past received letters of support from the town for our project, but we're in the pre-development stage right now and looking to garner some financial support from the town. Now our project, we're currently a women's resource center, which serves, I believe you got some information in the package on what our resource center does. Our housing, our 4 units, we house women and children. But the building we're in right now is, I think it's hitting 70 years old, and when we had a condition report done on it about 3 years ago, it was needing close to $500,000 in repairs and upgrades, and we have no room on our property to expand or do the necessary renovations to make it more accessible to the public. So we've been gifted some land if we are fortunate to get funding through the Albert Short-Term Friendship Center, and we have started a pre-development project. So right now at this stage we have engaged a project manager out of Winnipeg and an architecture team. So some of the drawings in the 4-pager there you got, some of the pictures of what we'll be looking at. We are looking at now a women's resource center with a healing room and 12. Your pamphlet might say 6, I'm not sure. We did make some changes in the last short while, but we are looking at 12 transitional affordable housing units. And during this phase, it's quite expensive, but we've gotten support through FCM and Women's Shelters Canada. So we've done some preliminary work with the land, geotechnical analysts, ESA phase 1, and surveying has just been completed. And in the next few weeks we'll have a Class B estimate and drawings. All of this is needed to support an application to CMHC's Affordable Housing Grant, in hopes to get close to 100% of the capital for this project. in saying that, CMHC likes to see support going forward with this project. So that's what we're looking for. Any incentives the town of Swan River could provide to our center, whether it's a one-time grant towards our pre-development. I know there's a tax incentive going down the road. So we were looking at things like that, hoping to secure something to support our application to the federal government for this. I mean, I think it's a very needed project in our community. We're so low on housing. Well, every community there's a lack of affordable housing. So with the 12 additional units, it does alleviate some of the stress, I guess, on that. So yeah, that's what we're kind of looking at, is some funding. I've never been in a position to go around asking for funding, so this is new to me. So yeah, here I am.
Any questions from council? Councillor Whyte.
I'm impressed. You know, you ever looked at a note, you didn't have anything written down, and we have it all in front of us, obviously, that you
Yeah,
shared then.
yeah.
It's a compliment to your oratory skills.
Oh, well, thank you,
Wow. Wow.
because this isn't fun or easy.
So things that I saw there, obviously a one-time grant is something you'd ask us to consider, or a grant, one time, multiple times. Tax incentives, I believe, for a new building, help me wrong, Deputy Mayor, we already have something like that you may not be aware of?
Yeah, I did see something like that on the website, reduction of either 100% for the first year, maybe 50% for, yeah, I did see that. I know we're speaking to a different director in a different area of the province. They're working towards the same project, much bigger scale. And they were, I think, getting a bit more like towards 5 and 10 years of tax incentives from the community to support this project. I don't know if that could be considered. I don't know what the town would consider. To be honest, I really don't. I'm just here looking to see what I can. I know Echo Apartments in Dauphin, when they were built, the town contributed $1,000 a door for every space, every rental they opened. So yeah, I'm just wondering if the town had any other incentives for affordable housing, or if the town has a housing strategy even in community. I mean, I know that's usually a provincial thing, but I think it's getting to the point where all levels of government and community have to be involved in getting some housing in communities. So
I can't speak for council on the tax incentive thing, but I can guarantee we certainly talk about it. And it's in there. To what degree it applies to us, I don't know, but I'm relatively optimistic. Letters of support would help you in your grant application
I have that already,
from
yes.
the town?
Yep,
Okay, that's good, I write that
yeah.
down. Is the design of that building, and I've looked at it, would it be nice if you could add 12 more rooms someday? Is that in the architectural design to add on?
No, we've, with the land that we would be gifted, we're using up all the space that we can on that piece of property, yep. So no, we would like to keep the house we have, which has 4 suites in it, as more transitional housing. Because along with the transitional housing, we have wraparound supports to help people transition, and some are through homeless or domestic violence or whatever the case may be. And transitional housing with wraparound supports, you will see a much higher success of people moving on to getting their own independent rental accommodations in community.
Last question, and it's probably a chauvinistic perspective. My wife and I have 2 daughters. We have 3 granddaughters. So why wouldn't that be the figure? This is such a medium for men.
You know what? There is a need for men. We have had calls for men. We cannot accommodate men. If there was we haven't been in that situation yet, but for example, for men, if someone did call our center saying they needed protection, because that's what it usually is around, from their partner, immediate protection, we could put them up in a hotel
well,
temporarily,
Yeah.
and then get them to Winnipeg where they do have the supports for men. Yeah,
Okay.
because most communities don't have, unfortunately.
that's it, sir.
Councillor Medwid.
I have a few questions. One, I like seeing what you've brought forward, and I do hope, in my opinion, that council continues to work with you to work out some sort of a tax incentive and or discount for, well, a few years to help you guys out there. One of my questions is you indicate that the project is $4 million. Is that total inclusive of what you're receiving from CMHC, FCM, and the Women's Shelter of Canada, as well as that land donation?
So that's one error on that form. I brought you that form a little too early trying to get my delegation in. So that was based on 6 units, so we're probably looking at about 6.7 million right now. That's the total project, exclusive of any funding that we have. We will be receiving more funding through FCM. I think the town is probably aware of the first grant I got through FCM because we did need Derek's information for that. So there'll be another one coming in that regard, and provincial funding will be received. Women's Shelter Canada gave us money for pre-development. I think we were just one of 6 shelters in Canada chosen for that funding, so we felt very fortunate about that. But Swan River's got very high needs, and that does not go unnoticed in government. So this 6.7 million, I think it's going to be roughly now. We're hoping most of that comes through from CMHC through their affordable housing. The part, they might not, I think it'll be about 20% we may have to either fundraise for or mortgage for a portion of our Women's Resource Center and healing room. The healing room is quite an expensive addition to the center, but we do feel it's important to have a cultural safe space for our Indigenous clients. Our valley has, I believe it's about, with I think Stats Can, 46% has self-declared as Indigenous or as such, and we service close to 95% of Indigenous women and children. So the healing space is very important to us. It is an expensive touch. It's coming in at about $440,000, that room itself. The way it's built, a circle room with the heating system, the air ventilation for smudging and ceremony as such. But yeah, we will be looking at trying to get close to the 700 or 6.7 million dollars.
Councillor Medwid, you've got another question?
Yes, I do. Thank you for that information, and I absolutely was thrilled to see the healing center as part of your facility. So that's good, because that is very much needed in our community. My next, it's not so much a question, but being that you do provide services for women subjected to domestic violence, you might want to reach out to Staff Sergeant Steve Henson and MLA Rick Bobick, because there is a criminal forfeiture grant program, and I don't know, it's going to be a one-time only type grant source, and I don't know if they do capital projects, but they do offer grants and funding to provide for improvements within a community to counteract the activities or results of crime. So MLA Bobick, which should be able to get you information on what kind of money is sitting in that bank account right now, and Staff Sergeant Steve Henson is the one you would have to look at collaborating with to submit an application. They only take applications once a year in January. And you might have to make that application to something very specific within your facility. So I don't know if you could gear it towards specific accessories or whatever for the healing facility or not, but it might be something to reach out to Staff Sergeant Henson and just see if that might be an option for some additional funding for you.
Yes, thank you for that. I have partnered with the RCMP in the past for funding as such. I did reach out to Mr. Boychuk, but he didn't provide me with any information, unfortunately, about that. Because we did really try. Unfortunately, I did end up with a surplus this last year. I mean, which is nice to be in a surplus. But the province wouldn't put it towards our project, which is a little frustrating. So we're going after their other pockets. They didn't want us to have that money, but yeah. So we are hitting them in their other pockets right now. But yeah, I'm open to any suggestions of funding. Actually, between me and my project manager right now, we have about 37 applications out for different funding avenues.
Councillor Bobick.
So, in your travels, have you met or going to meet with any other municipalities or First Nations neighbors?
Absolutely, yes. Once I can redo my 4-pager here, I will be going to Whyte and Sapatoriac and yes, in the RM. But this is where I thought I'd start. And of course, all our bigger corporations around the valley and such, just to garner any support for our project, whether it's the affordable housing unit, maybe not so much, but the Women's Resource Center. It is a public service in our community, open to, you know, everyone in community in the valley. We also take in a number of different people throughout the province yearly, shipped in from Winnipeg or Brandon or Dauphin or the north, depending on the shelter system and occupancy as such. So we're trying to, we're trying to find any corner we can. If you guys have more suggestions, throw them my way.
Thank you.
Councillor Powell.
I just want you to know that, whatever we could do to support you is definitely, we would try to do. I think it's a great thing for the valley, and I know your passion, and I know it very well because I worked in your field, but I think it's great, something for the valley, and I think that I definitely will kind of just keep my ears open for different funding things because there's always different levels.
Yeah, thanks. I'd appreciate that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then just one thing here before we need to wrap up. Do you have a timeline of when you would like to start construction or?
We are hoping to get an application into CMHC around April 1st. So they are expecting our application. We're working with the province, and the province and the feds are kind of working together. They know these applications need to come together. But how long it takes for them to approve us and tender the project, they were hoping originally to start maybe fall of this year. Whether that's a possibility or not, that's kind of out of our hands once the application goes in.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming to give us the presentation. Council will definitely continue the dialogue to see where we can assist anywhere we can
Sure.
within our financial constraints that we got.
For sure,
But
yeah.
we're definitely willing to look at some avenues
Okay.
to help you along with the project. So,
All right.
with
Thank
that,
yous
thank
very much.
for coming.
Thank you, Kristen. You want to stay for the rest of the meeting?
Thanks.
Okay, 5.1 under communications. Resolved that the Municipal and Northern Relations Bulletin number 2025-03 regarding homeowners affordability tax credit be received. Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. Trust everybody's had a chance to read that, and that's just basically giving notice to the town that the current provincial government has a adjustment or a new way to doing the school tax credit from previous. So the bulletin's quite light on the details of how that's going to be calculated, what the amounts are, but it's just providing notice to the municipalities. Councillor Medwid.
I noticed in the letter that it mentioned that more information on the HATC is attached, yet I didn't see anything attached to the agenda other than the letter itself. Did we get that additional information?
I'll have to follow up with my executive assistant. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
That's all that I had seen, but if there's anything else, I'll send that out.
Thank you.
All in favor? Carried. 5.2, building permits. Resolved that building permits 1/25 and 2/25 with a total estimated value of $1,800 be received. Yeah, 5.2. 100. So moved by Councillor Bobick, seconded by Councillor Whyte. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to reports. 6.1, handy van report. Resolved that the January 2025 Swan River Handy Transit Van report be received. Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. See the report attached. Councillor Medwid.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
So the report indicates that there's quite a few trips going out of town. So there was a couple, 2 for Dauphin, 4 for Brandon, 2 for Grandview. Do we know the number of people per trip? Like, does the number 2 represent 2 trips to Dauphin, or does it represent 2 people that went to Dauphin? And was it in the same trip?
CFO Gnida, that would be 2 trips, correct?
Each way is considered one trip, so going there is a trip, coming back is a trip. And we take only one person at a time, because that's the person that had the appointment.
Which brings me to my next question. Why are we operating a handy van with only one individual when we have multiple seats in the handy van? I realize it's being booked by an individual person, but are they not asked or offered to maybe put this out publicly to see if there's anybody else that might have a reason to be in Dauphin, that they could then share the cost of that trip? Because I believe we charge by mileage, which would get more use out of the handy van and might help alleviate some of the transportation issues we have within our community.
I think we can have that discussion in a COW meeting to discuss operations of the handy van. Any other questions?
Yes, I do. How far in advance are these out-of-town trips being booked? Do we know?
More than 24 hours. They need to be more than 24 hours.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Carried. 6.2, Council and CAO reports. So we'll start off with Council reports. Councillor Medwid, we'll start with you.
Well, I had a services to meet seniors meeting this afternoon, which did actually bring up a lot of questions regarding the handy van. And some of those are related to the trips. So we're wondering if it's possible, if the handy van is being booked for an out-of-town trip, being that it's kind of cost prohibitive for a lot of people to get to appointments outside of town. If there's a way and a means that when a trip is booked, if there's only 1 or 2 people in the van, if that can be communicated to our doctor's offices, so the health clinic, as well as services to seniors, and maybe even posted on social media to see if there's anybody else that qualifies for handy van use that may be able to book an appointment or be able to make use of that trip and allow for that cost sharing to happen so it becomes more affordable for our constituents. And yeah, those were some of the biggest ones, as well as booking. I believe our senior resource counselor has been working with the town in regards to booking the van. She was wanted me to clarify something. It was indicated that we have full-time staff operating the handy van now, and it was my understanding a year ago when I met with CAO Poole that our drivers are casual only, that we do not have full-time staff. If we can just confirm that.
It's casual only.
Okay, thank you. But yes, Services to Seniors is very much interested in working with the town and making these out-of-town runs maybe more effective for multiple people in the community, especially if our handy van can hold 6 to 8 people, I believe, depending on whether wheelchairs are involved. And that would help with some cost sharing of transportation. Aside from that, I attended the usual committee of the whole meetings and council meetings, I think.
Okay.
So that's all for me.
Okay, Councillor Whyte.
Question, if I could, what councillor is in charge of handy vans? I don't see it on our job description. Is there a certain councillor?
All of the council is the board.
Is there a council member represented?
No, because it's a town operation, so it's not a committee.
It is actually, there is a handy van board, and it consists of every member of council, with the mayor being the chair.
Like I just said, it's an operation of the town, which is by the board of the committee. Okay, Councillor Whyte, continue.
Yeah, I don't know if I got the answer. If I knew that person was, maybe they could be in charge of looking
Okay,
after all that
okay,
stuff.
we're not getting into debate. Please proceed with your
Okay,
report.
thank you. February the 4th, we had our AMM in Swan River. We had the president of the AMM and 4 or 5 of the members of the AMM come out and meet with us. And that was pretty special that they cared, and they had a lot of common denominators with other parts of the province, and I appreciate their listening. On February 5, we met as a group with the 4 municipalities planning the big event, the Rural Interest Group, and that will be self-evident later. On the 6th, led by Councillor Bobick, we had the Airport Commission meeting. I let him talk about that later, and one of the main issues was the potential cost of that tarmac, the runway itself, which could be quite substantial, but I think we're okay. We have money sitting around that should look after that. And again, on the 7th, I went to the school to look at meet with the school administration to talk about medical services, and they were also providing support for our rig, specifically snowshoes. And then on the 7th, also in the evening, we met with the 20-some medical students, and they're pretty excited, as was our team. And they're pretty, hopefully it's way off. They're planting a tree. It may not be for 5 years, but lots of people plant trees hopefully for the future, and I'm pretty optimistic about that. At the luncheon on the 8th, the MLA and 2 MLAs met with the rig students and encouraged them to come here. On the afternoon of the 8th, we had skidooing, and I can't thank Jason Sackle and his team enough. Snowshoeing, archery, Dr. Strait, and the bannock by the Powell sisters, the Greer sisters. Thank you, and collectively it just was awesome. And on the 10th, I sat in a member of the LP SAC committee, and again the IPCA's Indigenous Protected Conservation Areas came up, and all of us agree that collectively everybody should have some say in the management of that land. And the spruce budworm, there's something like 30,000 acres of spruce budworm up there, the trees rather, that are decadent, that are close to some of them not being able to be used. And at the moment, they're not allowed to harvest them, which is befuddled to me. I have no clue why that would be. Then the cow on the 11th, we talked about budget, amongst others. And then today I had the pleasure of working with Sergeant Bouchard, however you pronounce it. He is the police chief from St. Anne's, and we talked about, they have a private police force in St. Anne's. And I had the pleasure of having lunch with Deputy Mayor Moriaux, who makes sure ask the right questions. It's volunteer, it's expensive, somewhat comparable to running our police force, but you have to buy the cars, you have to buy the building, you have to buy the equipment, the technology, so that really comes into to operate. But a couple points really jumped out at me. They have a volunteer group of men and or women, I'm assuming, similar to our COW, not our COW or COPP. Those volunteers are trained, have batons, and have pepper spray. So they're out and they're taught how to detain. So unlike our COPP, which I'm all in favor of, don't get involved with those rascals. But they have a volunteer group that are trained by the local police force and or RCMP. And so I'm just thinking that's something that we may want to consider in our future, that those volunteers trained and on the street. And they also have, I believe, have a CSO, a community safety officer, funding significantly by MPI. So it's enlightening. I don't think we're thinking about going there yet, but that one little bit of volunteers who can be trained to work on the street from, let's say, midnight till 8 in the morning, for example. Wouldn't that be wonderful? And that's out for meetings specifically. Thank you, sir.
Councillor Powell.
So not quite as much as Councillor Whyte. We had a regular meeting on February 5th. Committee of the whole meeting, of course, and as well as the AMM meeting, which was really, really, I think that was really great for us all to actually meet and chat with them. We had lots of great discussions on things moving forward and things we'd like to see, so I think that was a really great thing for us to have them here in our council chambers for that. So. And then other than, the doctor, I heard all great things about the doctor recruitment. They had a great time. They honestly said that there's quite a few of them that couldn't believe the things that happened from this one over. So, that's it.
Councillor Bobick.
Thank you. Also at the AMM, when they met with them, interesting discussions there was how all municipalities seem to have similar problems and issues, but actually great for them to know those answers. Also met at the Powell meeting on Tuesday. Airport meeting we had, speaking of the tarmac, that's something we'll probably be looking at and get an assessment from somebody, a professional that knows asphalt and what the life expectancy of that is, so we have a better idea where we're going with this in the near future. Also was at the SAC meeting with LP there. Interesting fact that they kind of nickname the LP here the Costco of LPs, because they can build everything. They build siding, they build board, they build everything, which is unusual for a plant. But they can switch in a matter of days from one product to the other. So the nickname is the Costco of LPs. Interesting. I still believe it's the quality of the wood we have in the valley. Also had a watershed meeting with our new board. Great board. We've got lots of interesting people there, lots of information. Just a correction, I've been saying that the watershed brings $1.5 million into the valley every year. Well, the correction is it's $2 million. This year's budget will be bringing in $2 million, which will be spent in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For myself, most of it was said already, the AMM meeting with the executive here. A lot of the planning and hosting and making the rig weekend with the 19 students from Winnipeg along with their chaperones go off without a hitch, with a lot of positive reviews, working on some of the background stuff with Johnson Controls, with the arena project, with the GIBC grant out of maximize that. And we'll have a presentation or more discussion of that in camera with the individuals. And then working with his worship and administration to keep the office going here, answering some of their questions and things like that while they're short-staffed with the CEO at the point. So that's it for me. You also see attached to there is the CEO report. Anything further to add to that, Mr. Harvey?
I just spent a fair amount of time with our municipal weekend, going over the airport operation manual, safety management system, and all the different regulations and legislations that he keeps on track of. So I can cover that for a bit while we're transitioning into a new position there. So we hired someone for there. And then, so we had a full document that we did on that, so we're just going over all that. Looking at all the different safety equipment, recertification timelines, online safety platforms, and worker compensation board. And then just meeting with the foreman to discuss some of their operations. A lot of snow, but he's staying on top of that, keeping the roads wide and hauling everything away. And then there's just the mayor and the deputy mayor regarding the CAO, the onboarding for that. He's meeting with the executive assistant, just looking at a document for everything signed up so that it shows like it's good to go. Several miscellaneous items that we're working on as they come through the office.
Any questions to interim CEO Harvey? No. Councillor Medwid. Councillor Medwid, you had your hand up.
You're on mute if you're talking, Councillor.
Sorry, I was talking, but I was obviously muted. Yes, I have a question. On the CAO report, it mentioned something about a narrative report regarding a Zoom meeting for dementia-inclusive communities. Do you have any more you can share with us about that, or is you have to attend it first before you can give us more information?
Yeah, that's tomorrow, the Zoom meeting, so I'll have more information after that. It's like removing, similar to wheelchairs, barrier-free access on sidewalks, large writing of signs. That was just very preliminary stuff, so I'm sure there'll be a lot more tomorrow at the Zoom meeting.
What time is that meeting, and is it possible for myself to attend as well? Because this is something that would be of interest to the services to seniors regarding information on this.
I'd have to check with them. This one, they said was for CAOs, so I'm not sure if there'll be a council one coming up, but I can check on that.
Please, thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business, 7.1. Resolve that interim CEO Darren Harvey be authorized to sign the agreement for payment of tax arrears attached hereto as Schedule A. Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. We've seen the draft agreement that was presented there, where the administration has worked out a payment agreement with an individual or roll number. Any questions or discussion on that? Councillor Bobick.
I didn't know we offered this.
Yeah, we do. It was one of the, I believe, one of the properties that were going to go to tax sale, but an agreement between the individual and the administration was worked out for a payment plan to bring them up to out of it. So
I was just jotting down a note from the previous one. I missed the mover and the second.
Powell was moved and Bobick was second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Agree.
Carried. 7.2, resolve that council award RFQ 1908 to Bobick Contracting Incorporated. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion. Councillor Bobick.
Has there ever been any thought into us doing this with our own entities?
We looked at that, but you need a hoe to dig out the basements, so we have to contract the hoe anyways. And potential damage for equipment, tend to contract these out, just so we don't risk damaging our equipment.
Okay.
All in favor?
Agree.
Okay, Councillor Medwid, can you mute your microphone? We're getting some feedback from your screen. 7.3. Resolved that effective March 3rd, 2025, the signing officers for the town of Swan River be either Mayor Lance Jacobson or Deputy Mayor David Moriaux, and either Chief Administrative Officer William Tunian or Chief Financial Officer Terence Gnida. Be it further resolved that check signing authority be approved for Councillor Don Bobick only in the absence of both Mayor Lance Jacobson and Deputy Mayor David Moriaux. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion. All in favor?
Agree.
7.4. Resolved that effective March 3rd, 2025, the signing officers for Swan Valley Employment and Training Project accounts at the Swan Valley Credit Union be Sarah Sackle, William Tunian, and Terence Gnida, and that 2 signatures or online approvals be required for all transactions. So moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. Councillor Whyte.
Who is Sarah Sacco?
She was Swan Valley Employment and Training. She manages the program.
Okay, so she managed the program at that end.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Agree.
Carried. 7.5, whereas 1 in 10 people will experience a seizure in their lifetime, with over 23,000 people living with epilepsy seizure disorder in Manitoba, and whereas in 2012 the Government of Canada passed a law identifying March 26th as the officially recognized date for Epilepsy Awareness, Bill C-278, the Purple Day Act. Therefore, it be resolved that March 26, 2025 be declared as the Purple Day in the town of Swan River. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. All in favor?
Agree.
Carried. (7.6) Whereas the town of Swan River entered into an agreement with the province of Manitoba as a service provider for the Swan Valley Employment and Training Project for the year from January 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025, and whereas the province of Manitoba and the Swan Valley Employment and Training Project are requesting some mid-contract wage adjustments, therefore be it resolved amending agreements for the Employment Training Project be approved. Moved by Councillor Powell, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. CEO Harvey.
Yes, so SVTP has acquired additional funding from the province of Manitoba. So they're going from 165,531 for the whole to 170,165. And so this covers that with amendments. And this is the paper trail for the audit process to have these amendments done and signed off by us, since we're
Clear as mud to everybody? Okay, all in favor?
Agree.
Carried. 7.7, resolved that the snow removal policy dated February 14, 2025 be approved. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. Councillor Medwid.
Yeah, I have a question. Section XXIV, snow on private properties. There was a new kind of addition added there, and it references removal of snow, being pushed up on private properties. But my question is, I've identified a couple corners on back lanes that have gotten rather high, and that's coming off of the back lanes themselves. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to be looking at potentially invoicing, fining, whatever the language is, to a property owner, are we going to be making sure that those piles of snow are not a result of what's being pushed out of the back lanes before we potentially fine a property owner for something that they're not actually responsible for?
Yeah, so we have a site triangle that's 10 feet by 10 feet, but there's a property where the road coming into it it's two main streets, with not just back lanes, like these are streets and avenues. And the one coming into it is on an angle, and so it's clear from the 10 feet back that's in the zoning, like it fits with the site triangle. But if you pull into that intersection and you look to the north, you can't see because of the angle of the road. So this would just cover that, so that it's mainly that one road, because it's not the intersection isn't fully 90, well, it's 90 degrees at the intersection, but very quickly the northern road heads off to the northwest. And so traffic is coming at like 50 kilometers an hour, so just because it's coming from out of town. So that's why I want to add that one, so we can make sure that people coming over the bridge, or people pulling out, can see if people are coming over the bridge essentially.
So basically, the short, if the town creates the snowbank or the obstruction, that we're not charging the property owner, we'll be clearing that up. This is a snowbank that's created by a contractor.
Parking lot being cleared, yes.
Okay, anything further, Councillor Medwid?
No, that answers it perfectly, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Agree.
Nothing under 8, 9, 9.1. Resolved that accounts as follows be hereby approved for payment. 1, general account checks number 32514 to number 32562 totaling $196,749.22 as listed on Schedule A. Payroll account checks number P5533 to number P5536, and direct deposit payments totaling $106,765.30 as listed on Schedule B, and direct deposit payments totaling $1,220.91 as listed on Schedule C. Moved by Councillor Bobick, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion. Councillor Bobick.
Just for transparency of council, check number 32549 and 32550 add up to $36,327, which are basically paying for a code of conduct issues. Just to make that statement for transparency.
Okay.
What was that number again?
$36,327
$36,000 we paid for full conduct.
Okay.
issues.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Agree.
Section 10, bylaws, 10.1. In resolve that bylaw number 19/2024 being a bylaw of the town of Swan River to establish indemnities for council be read a third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Bobick, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion. This will be a recorded vote. All in favor?
Agree.
Carried.
So that was unanimous?
Yes. 10.2, resolve that bylaw number 2/2025 being a bylaw of the town of Swan River to amend various bylaws with regards to our enforcement activities be read a third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion. Councillor Medwid.
Yeah, I still have concerns regarding the section that is being removed. As per our strategic plan, objective 5 is retention of staff, and it's staff that has requested the support from council to be able to do their job effectively and efficiently when dealing with repeat violations of pet owners. So I still feel that passing a third reading without taking the time to address these concerns, in my opinion, sends a message to staff that council's not really concerned about what their wants or needs are to conduct their job appropriately. And I do feel that this may lead to feelings of being unheard, unappreciated, frustration, which can potentially result in loss of staff. So I think we do need to take a step back, and in my opinion, we need to make the time to work with staff as well as the Animal Protection League and the vets and see if there's something we can do to implement a balanced solution that supports addressing their concern with dealing with repeat offenders, that punishes the owners and not the animals.
Councillor Bobick.
Tend to agree with Councillor Medwid on certain points there. I do think we should meet with the trial officers and stuff. I think at a cow meeting would be nothing. I think council would be interested in, I've had some conversations with them, it would be interesting for council to hear their conversations. Just my thoughts.
Councillor Powell.
I would agree with Councillor Bobick on that, just to have a kind of a other side of the story kind of thing and what exactly. So I would agree with Councillor Bobick.
Councillor CEO Harvey.
I believe that was the plan when the full animal protection bylaw came up.
That's correct.
What's planned, sir?
The portion that's being removed, other than the amendment that's being removed from the bylaw as it is not being totally omitted. It's being delayed and it being addressed when we're having the full bylaw, the responsible pet owner bylaw discussion.
And that's what we could bring in. The
Okay,
bylaws.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, first way.
Councillor Medwid.
In my opinion, I still feel this is kicking the can down the road. This bylaw has in itself been opened 3 times now since this term of council has sat at the table, and not once have we addressed this issue. This is an opportunity for this issue to be addressed. The staff has brought it forward as something they would like to have addressed, and we have no timeline for them as to when that animal control bylaw will be looked at in entirety in its own time. So by moving this forward with removing this portion, to me, that is kicking the problem down the road, and it sends a message that we're not really hearing you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Recorded vote. All in favor? Okay. Opposed?
Opposed?
Abstentions? Defeated. 10.3. Resolved that bylaw number 3, 2025, being a bylaw of the town of Swan River to establish the organizational structure of council be read a third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Bobick. Discussion. Councillor Medwid.
I just wanted to mention that under the first whereas statement, it references the Municipal Act, section 148.1, which basically states that this bylaw doesn't need to be reviewed annually. We just need to review it at least once during the term of office. I just thought I'd bring that forward because we seem to have been doing it annually, but I don't know that there's necessarily a need for that moving forward.
Points taken. We did make an adjustment to it, so. Any other discussion? Okay, all recorded vote. All in favor?
Agree.
Carried. 10.4. Resolved that bylaw number 4, 2025, being a bylaw of the town of Swan River to establish the procedures for council to be read third time and passed. Moved by Councillor Whyte, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion.
I would just like to bring forth just the rest here. I guess just read, this is hard to read it off, right?
Yeah, you're looking to make an amendment.
Just make the amendment to this, to 6.4, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And just read, I can just read off this, right?
Right, just read it off.
Okay. If a participant of the meeting participates by a virtual platform and the meeting goes into camera, all participants must ensure their video camera is on and that they use headphones. B is no digital background shall be used during in-camera sessions.
So we have a motion, you're making that motion to make that amendment?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a seconder to the motion? Councillor Bobick. Okay, any discussion to the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Medwid?
According to the Municipal Act, meetings through electronic communication, section 150.1, the council may conduct a meeting partially or entirely by means of an electronic or other communication facility if the facility enables the members to hear and speak to each other and the public to hear the members. Participating members deemed to be present in section 150.2, a member participating in a meeting conducted by means of a communication facility is deemed to be present at the meeting. Nowhere in the Municipal Act does it actually state or require that cameras be on, that there actually be video footage, or that there's these additional conditions that are being presented as an amendment.
Councillor Powell.
Well, I have discussed with other council or other municipalities, and this is what I'm bringing forward.
Okay, just to wrap that up, and also just to let council know that the province of Manitoba does have a guideline on communication facilities, which is a guideline for council to participate via audiovisual. So that is on the website for council to review also if they want, which has stipulations similar to what we enacted, or which is being proposed. So all in favor of the amendment? Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, the amendment is carried. Okay, so, Mr. Harvey, if you want to update the Councillor Stone, you need to refresh.
I'm just gonna delete the old one. Should be able to
Refresh.
refresh.
So in the resolution, can you put in right at the end as amended?
Yeah.
Where do you find this, Your Worship?
It'll be under 10.4 once he
Okay, thank you.
adjusts the resolution. You just
Okay, so it should be updated resolution as well now.
Okay. So we're back to the original, so resolve that bylaw number 04/2025 being a bylaw of the town of Swan River to establish the procedures for council be read a third time as amended and passed, and that was moved by, who was the original mover and seconder?
Council Bobick was the mover, and now the seconder.
That was Whyte, Council Whyte was the second. Okay, so discussion on the original, back to the main motion. Councillor Medwid.
Yeah, I would like to propose an amendment to section 6.3A to include on the end or medical recommendation for accommodation.
Okay, so we have a motion to put an amendment to 6.3A. Mr. Harvey, you have that?
We would need
Yeah, but
mover and seconder.
what, do you have the language of what she's,
Just give me a second to pull it up. So it has 6.3, any member of council shall only be permitted to use an audio-visual communication facility if they are physically unable to be present due to either.
she want, like under A, being admitted to a hospital or care facility, or, and what, Councilor Medwid, what was your motion to add there?
Or medical recommendation for accommodations.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder?
Can you read that again, please?
So currently, it says any member of council shall only be permitted to use an audiovisual communication facility if they're physically unable to be present due to either A, being admitted to a hospital or care facility, and then Councillor Medwid has put forth or medical accommodation or medical recommendation for accommodations. And then it would continue or being further than 50 kilometers from the town of Swan at the time of the meeting.
One final time, do we have a seconder? We don't have a seconder. We go back to the original resolution. Any further discussion?
Yes, I do. I would strongly recommend this be reviewed by a lawyer prior to doing a third reading, because not allowing for medical recommendation accommodations, which council should be aware of, but from interim CAO I do have, would be potentially in violation of the Workplace Health and Safety Act. So I would strongly recommend we have a lawyer review this bylaw prior to passing a third reading to ensure what we're passing is actually legal.
Any further discussion before I call the question? Call the question. All in favor of the amended bylaw? Opposed?
Opposed?
This carried with Councillor Medwid opposed. It's a recorded vote. Okay. Okay, oops. No notice of motion, section 12, members privilege. So, Councillor Bobick.
Nothing really today, just hoping some warm temperatures come soon.
Councillor Powell.
Oh, nothing.
Councillor Whyte.
Just a couple of quick ones. I was remiss when I was giving the reports on the rig and success. I think it's important to publicly thank Deputy Mayor Moriaux for being one of the key people in organizing all the half a dozen or more teams and all the issues of the dinners and the road trips and the buses and the checks. So Deputy Mayor, I want to thank you publicly for that, for all your help in that one. Interim CAO. I've asked this question 3 or 4 times, so I'm going to ask it a little more assertive. I would like something in writing for the next meeting if I may have to make a resolution, unless you have the answer today. We have signs already signed up for Mr. Walker and Mr. McKenna. The names are produced enough to recently, it couldn't be put up because we didn't have them. Well, now we have them, and I'd like to know what the plan is, when and where, because these guys are, one of the two is getting old.
Yeah, I discussed that with the mayor, so once it's springtime, the weather's a little bit better, we're gonna meet out with them. Like, there isn't an existing road where those signs are, so the signs won't go up until there's an existing road. We got those ones made up so that we can have a photo taken with them where they will go up once the roads are in place, and then we can keep those signs.
Yeah, thank you, and that's on a list somewhere, like in April, determined site sign?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. With the blessing of council, I want to follow up with the Minister of Justice office or the Senior Crown Attorney's office, because when we last met with the Minister of Justice, we talked about the possibility of a Crown Attorney being stationed in Swan River, which I feel would make it a little easier for the Crown who lived in this community to feel what is happening in the community. Sometimes when they're 110 miles away, I don't think they appreciate the stress that our community is going through. So I'm going to, I'll write a letter, I'll send it to all the councillors for approval if it's going to be approved.
We can add that to the next week's cow.
Okay, could you add that to the calendar, please? That's appropriate. We talked about vans earlier. I want to know what's the van protocol. I've heard you say it's in council. Do you know where that's written somewhere? Who's in charge of what happens on the van? Whether one person goes or 6?
Okay.
Is there a resolution? Is there a,
We can discuss that at the next cow.
okay, van use? Like, take 6 fine, but who's going to organize that? Who's going to, as opposed to complaining about it all, who's going to phone? Who's going to put the ads in the paper? that I'd like to, and next week, Kyle.
Oh, for the handicap.
Pardon?
Yeah.
For the handicap.
Okay, thank you. Next, Kyle. I want to thank the snow removal team. Mr. Harvey, please thank your team, because we've got a lot of snow, and a few corners are got a little more snow. You guys have no control over that, and you've got it addressed already, and that's important. And Jordan did a good job. Recently, one of our constituents had a concern. I told Jordan, maybe you told Jordan. Jordan looked after it. And please thank Jordan for us also. Thank you. That's it for me.
Councillor Medwid.
I'm good.
Director Clouson. Mr. Harvey, can you let Randy in?
Sorry, what?
Nothing from me tonight.
Okay. CFO Gnida.
I don't have anything.
Interim CEO Harvey.
Yeah, just props to the guys on the garbage truck. They've been out in this cold weather. And, it's a big thank you to them. And then we're looking forward to a new CAO coming. And, I'm just trying to get a bit lined up so that I guess we transition.
Thank you. Nothing from me. In camera. Resolved that pursuant to sections 152.3 of the Municipal Act, Council go into committee and close the meeting to the public. Moved by Councillor Bobick, seconded by Councillor Powell. Discussion. All in favor? Carried.
Okay, I'll just hand this over to Director Harvey. Arena resolution draft.
Okay, so we got a motion coming out of camera from Councillor Bobick that we engage with a letter of intent, I believe, with Johnson Controls to act as our liaison under the parameters of our canoe and Pan West agreement, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just copying that in.
Director Clouson, you got a question?
I do. Sorry, I didn't realize we were coming out of camera so quick. I wonder if we should stay away from the term arena if we're looking at this as being more of a community center or cultural center or something like that. I don't know the exact wording, but we talk about all these different things we want to do, and there isn't just an arena. That's just all I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah. Under the grant, it's called Arena Project, I believe, so which is all encompassing in that whole grant stuff. So.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. Thank you.
Yeah, it can always be morphed later.
I agree completely.
Okay.
Does everyone want to
So refresh your
refresh?
agendas.
See if that resolution shows up. Timed out.
Okay, so we have a resolution that's come forward. It says, whereas the corporation.
Oh, sorry. I went in the wrong spot. Sorry. Give me a sec here.
Okay, but it doesn't change, right?
It'll be the same wording.
Okay, you do what you need to do in the background, and I can keep reading.
Sure.
Whereas the corporation of the town of Swan River is committed to ensuring that its procurement decisions are fair, open, and transparent, and whereas the purchases made by the town of Swan River reflect the best value for the taxpayer and protect the corporation's financial interests, and whereas the town of Swan River has previously engaged Johnson Controls Incorporated in the Centennial Arena retrofit project, and most recently the proposed new arena project grant submission to GIBC grant from the federal government, and whereas Johnson Controls Inc. has offered to advocate and promote a public-private partnership with the municipality, local First Nations, and the federal government to advance the project funding amount, and whereas should the public-private partnership and funding application be successful to fund the arena project, Johnson Controls may be awarded project components covered by their canoe procurement contract in accordance with the New West Partnership Trade Agreement. Now therefore it be resolved that the town of Swan River sign a letter of intent with Johnson Controls Incorporated with terms and conditions agreeable to both parties. That was moved by Councillor Bobick. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Whyte. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? That's carried. That's carried. Okay. 16, adjournment. Resolved that this regular meeting of council now adjourn at 9:00 PM. Moved by Councillor Bobick, seconded by Councillor Whyte. All in favor? Carried.
Agreed.
We stand adjourned.